What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the TEN 7 MMA Show. And we are back, Justin Guitar Hero James and myself, Ilia Topuria, after a crazy weekend that we got to talk about briefly before we get into the show, because there are a lot of very, very important and pressing topics that we do need to touch on today. But we are fresh off of the last Fusion Fight League event, season's beatings in Montana. And it was incredible, guys. If you are mixed martial arts fans, combat sports fans, now, of course, it's always weird, right? I remember it's like other promotions would sometimes talk about their events, and I'm like, nah, I only want to watch UFC. And I used to feel like that. I mean, completely. I don't know about you, Justin, if you felt the same. But now, as I'm getting more acquainted with Fusion Fight League, it's a whole nother universe. And again, it's not a competitor to the UFC. It's almost like what would you call it? Like a feeding league.
It's a feeder league for sure. I mean, you got guys, Sean O'Malley, Tim Welch is there every time. Sean O'Malley actually took a loss in the Fusion Fight League as an amateur. You got Tommy Gunn McMillan. You know, he's looking for his Dana White Contender Series. Ezra Elliott. I mean, you look at Lance Regenball, who'll be turning pro soon. Like, they have some fucking studs. I mean, what's his name? The guy that I got into it with in the cage, Lloyd Mix, Bellator vet. Like, he's fought for Fusion. Like, Fusion puts on an incredible show. They have incredible production, and they have a lot of really good fighters, up and coming and vets.
And it's crazy. Like, you can see these guys. We saw fighters coming in there 18, Day on the Man, 18, 19, 20, 22, at the beginning of their career, building their career. And some of these guys, as Justin mentioned, some of those names like Ezra Elliott, they're on the precipice of going to the UFC. And we got to, and I'm not just saying that because we work for the promotion, we got to see them like come out at the beginning, what it's like pre-UFC. And I don't know, it was just so exciting, number one, from that aspect. Number two, the fights were incredible, and you're seeing raw talent. You're seeing, obviously, they're not as polished as a lot of the UFC fighters. Well, some of them are actually, but you're seeing this raw talent sort of being sculpted and molded in real time, and just banger fights. The heart that everybody had, the hometown support people had for the guys. Anyways, the whole show was such a blast. And we also, what was that guy's name who was the announcer? That we had the announcer from BKS. Jeff Houston was there, and he's like such a pro. That guy was a G. So the entire weekend was amazing. Saturday was incredible. I was still thinking about it this morning on the plane, just reflecting back and trying to be thankful for the whole weekend and the whole experience of Saturday in particular at the event, because it was just, adrenaline was high, and I was just enjoying it throughout the entire time. So I was just reflecting on that all this morning. It was super cool.
Something I want to mention too. It's funny how things work like this, because you look at our relationship. You came to Extreme Couture on a whim to train. You run into me, and then you told me something that I thought was really interesting over the weekend. You told me recently, or in the last year, you didn't know why or how or what, but you knew you were going to get really heavily involved with MMA.
Yeah.
And just it was a weird feeling you had. You meet me. We have our podcast now, which obviously is all MMA based. And then, when I got sick, I was like, hey, who's the best guy for me to fill in? It's you. I send you into the booth. They fall in love with you. Now we're working together. We're traveling the country together, talking about MMA, building MMA fighters. And we get to have our podcast guys, we have like 515 subscribers right now, guys. Like, the 10-7's going places. Huzefa and Justin are going places. I'm looking to fight in March, and, I'm going to be really happy and proud to have you commentating that fight, even if it's a bare knuckle fight, which,
Great.
That's in the work right now. And, I'm just really glad that we were able to connect and start this journey together.
Yeah, it is such a trip. And I don't know why I had that feeling. I mean, it obviously has something to do with how connected I feel to the sport and to the fighters in general. But these things just kind of fell together. And by the way, when Justin asked me to fill in to commentate for him last June, I had never done it before. That was one thing that I was not confident in at all, because podcasting or talking on camera or making YouTube videos, super comfortable with that. I've been doing that for years, but that was a whole nother element. It was more just like, hey, I'll fill in and have a good time and have some fun and do my absolute, just try my hardest is what I always do. And now it's turned into this. Plus, the fact that I wouldn't like this as much if we weren't boys. Like, the fact that we get to do it together too, I wonder if it's got to be like that, I'm sure, for the UFC guys, because they do seem like they're all really tight and really good friends. But otherwise, I don't think this will be nearly as fun. But that whole element, plus the way we complement each other with the, your massive knowledge base and all that stuff. And I feel like I can bring complementary things to it. So it seems to be a perfect fit. Anyways, enough about that. But it's just been a blast. And we want to talk about it, or I want to talk about it.
Well,
Yes.
last thing I gotta say, when you have a guy like Jeff Houston that's traveled the world, he commentates for BKFC. Like I said, he has an incredible voice. When he's on the mic, the guy's legendary. Everybody knows who Jeff Houston is. And even if you don't know of his name, you're like, oh, I'm not really sure who it is. If you heard him talk, you'd be like, oh shit, I know that guy. When Jeff Houston comes up to us after the show, when we're at Halftime Sports Bar and Grill, and says, wow, you guys are something special, that means a lot to me. And that really tells me that we're going to kick something off here real soon.
Yeah, I 100% agree. So anyways, we are riding high on adrenaline, even if we're low on sleep. But by the way, so MGal Production says, Justin, remember when you knocked out Frank Camacho? Very cool. Oh, barely. Dude, you were at UFC Tampa. That is so sweet. I was just talking to Justin about that because the ticket prices were actually very reasonable. And I bet that card was sick, Justin. So we're going to talk about a couple of the fights, obviously the main event, and also Manel Kape, dude. That guy is insane. Tehran says, what's up? And then, Michael Johnson had an amazing KO. I still haven't even watched that fight. We were working during the event. We only finished in time to watch Colby versus Joaquin Buckley, but then I went back and watched the Manel Kape fight, which was incredible. I need to watch the Michael Johnson fight, and also Cub Swanson apparently had a tremendous fight as well. A couple of the comments.
Yeah, go ahead. No, I want to say just about Michael Johnson. So I was able to see the knockout. Michael Johnson is a fucking dog. When I was in the UFC, him and I cut weight together a lot. He's a phenomenal fighter. He's a phenomenal person. Love his energy. Love everything about Michael Johnson. Michael Johnson has proposed Michael Johnson versus Justin Gaethje 2.
Oh, what?
Yes. He came out and said that's the fight he wants.
No, wait, that's crazy. That's insane. Has Justin Gaethje responded?
There was no response yet. He just, like on Instagram, we'll have like a picture of Michael Johnson. It'll say his quote. And then you swipe to the next one and it says it. He says, Michael Johnson versus Justin Gaethje 2, especially coming off that knockout. Now we're talking about a knockout artist of Michael Johnson. He's a fucking dog.
I need to think about that a little bit more. That wasn't something that I was expecting as Justin Gaethje's next fight. I need to think about that a little bit more. Maybe we can talk about potential matchups for Justin. What would be really cool? I imagine Justin, I don't know what his plans are, but I imagine he's not going to have too many more fights left, is what it sounds like. He said that before. I'm not saying he should retire by any means, but that's coming from him, I believe. So I guess we'll see, but that could be a really cool fight. All right. Will Justin Gaethje ever be the same after that beating from Max, though? I think so. Justin, you know better than me, but he's done, I feel like, everything he's supposed to do. He hasn't jumped right back into sparring. He said he's taken plenty of rest to let his head heal from the knockout. He's like slowly getting back in there. He's got Trevor Whitman. I mean, of course, you never know with the body, but I mean, I guess we don't know because we're not in there, but what do you think?
I mean, that's a terrifying knockout. If you're Justin Gaethje, man, that's a position he never wants to be in again, and when sometimes, and I'm not saying this is the case because Justin Gaethje is a legend, he's a fucking dog, it's like it's not, but you'll always have that subconscious thought is, I don't want to get knocked out like that again, especially with my family, my kids watching. So a lot of times that can make you more hesitant. That's why I like this Michael Johnson matchup, because I think Justin Gaethje is such a favorite in that fight. I think that he's so much better than, I'm not saying so much better than him, but he's definitely a favorite in that fight. And this would be a great fight. With a little bit lesser competition, and I don't want it to sound like I'm talking shit about Michael Johnson because I'm a huge Michael Johnson fan. But Justin Gaethje and Michael Johnson, I just think Justin's a little bit better, maybe a little bit more than a little bit. But I think this would be a great fight, a tune-up fight for him to get back in there and really test it if he's still the dog that we all know him to be. Because again, I mean, Justin Gaethje's only fought the best fighters in the world, top 3, top 5, fighting for championship. Habib fought everybody that's good. I think. And if Michael Johnson comes in there and wins, it still can show that this old dog still has it. And if Justin Gaethje gets in there, gets his feet back wet to being the octagon, he's almost going to take a year off since his Max Holloway fight. And I think that was smart. I mean, the guy has enough money. And that's that's really what intrigues me about this Justin Gaethje matchup with Michael Johnson, because again, I think Justin's the favorite and be a perfect matchup for him to get back in there and get his feet wet back in the octagon.
Just one quick aside before we move on. Also, MGal Production says this is great podcasting, a great podcast. Keep it going. Thank you so much, bro. We are trying to But another just little fun fact, I had no idea this was the case. Apparently, Michael Johnson is one of Colby Covington's favorite fighters. Colby Covington went out of his way at UFC Tampa to go say what's up to Michael Johnson. And he said, hey, you had a tremendous knockout, I think, against Dustin Poirier or fight against Dustin Poirier, something like that. And it was a really cool moment that was caught on camera. But anyways, speaking of Colby Covington, we got to talk about this. So we left the venue. Okay, we left the venue of Fusion Fight League. We knew the fight was happening. We literally got in the car. We drove, like pulled over and pulled it up on my phone, and we watched pretty much the whole fight. I think it was maybe like second to third round. Maybe we missed the first round, but I went back and watched it later. Yo, this fight was crazy. Justin, I'm going to turn it over to you first for your reaction. Justin made a video already, but let's go ahead and dive deeper. What are your thoughts and what are your takeaways from this fight?
Colby's done, man. He's done, and I'm glad to see it. You know, I tell you what, I was kind of pissed off, and I mentioned in my video about about the fight is that female doctor in there. Like she should never work for the UFC again. You know, it really. I'm not gonna say it disgusted me, but the cut that Colby had, I mean, it was a bad cut, but we've seen much worse cuts than that. And when she was looking at it, she was just like really all squeamish and like, oh, I'm not gonna let this go much longer. It's like, if that fight was in Vegas, like they would have fucking put some Vaseline on it and said, get back out there. And, I really want to see Colby get punished more from Joaquin Buckley. That's the only downside to it. I mean, besides the fact that I told everybody to take plus money, plus 150 for the knockout, which if you guys took that wager, I did get some messages on Instagram like, oh, we took Jakar Klaus, guys. Let me elaborate just a little bit on the show. I told you to take Jakar Klaus as a plus 380 dog. Understand, guys, just because I said to take him as a plus dog doesn't mean I think he's going to win. I'm not saying I thought he was going to win, but from a math standpoint, when you're at plus 80, you only have to win 18% of the time to make long term. Yes, he lost the fight. Okay, you lost 100. If you put $100 on Jakar and lost, okay, then you put 100 on Colby and won. You guys came out $50. For all you guys bitching that I told you guys to take Jakar Klaus, it was the right move. Unfortunately, it just didn't. But it was the right call. It was the right move. Now, moving on to Colby and this doctor, it was disgusted with. I hate stoppage. Besides the fact that I won my bet because of the stoppage, I want to see Colby get punished more. I want to see him take damage. And now I have a feeling in a week or so he's gonna be like, oh, it was bad stoppage, blah blah blah, and that fucking sucks. I wanted to see him get put away. I wanted to see him quit, so there was no excuse at the end of the fight.
I mean, dude, and it was happening, man. I don't know if Colby's even been knocked out, or if he has, it's been a long time. But Joaquin Buckley was on his way. He was so close. Like, he was piecing him up badly. There was just a massive skill discrepancy. Colby was having very little success with the takedowns. And then the striking was just off the charts. Though I will say, I mean, in terms of Joaquin Buckley compared to Colby Covington, though I will say Colby threw a crazy tornado kick. That was pretty cool. Yeah. But, I mean, it was imminent.
And it looked clean, too. It looked good.
It looked good. It looked like a really good technique. But the thing is, I feel like not saying I hate Colby or anything like that, but just for all the years of everything, all the smack talking, and I mean, he said some, whether or not it's a character, he said some really inappropriate and terrible things. And so it's just like, it's one of those things. Joaquin Buckley could have had such a massive moment for being that one guy to knock him down, put him out after all that kind of pain and damage he's caused. And he was about to do it. It would have shot him to the moon, and he got stopped. So it's a little bit disappointing. Not to mention, what's going to happen. You know what Colby's going to say. He's going to come out in the next interview and be like, man, I was just getting my bearing going, and then the doctor stopped it. I was robbed. I know I was going to win that fight. Like, he's going to take that whole angle for sure, unless he decides to retire. So that part's a little frustrating.
Here's the thing about taking that angle, and I'd expect him to take that angle too. But when you watch the fight, and you look at Colby's face, not the cut, his face, demeanor, his composure, he was done, bro. There's like, if he does come out, this is what I'm going to do. And I want you, and I'm going to ask you to help me with this.
Okay.
All that shit. I want to do a video, and we're going to rewatch the fight. We're going to take clips of the fight just to talk about his composure, just to talk about his demeanor. And at this point in the fight, when Colby's blade down, does he look like he's still in the fight mentally? I'm not saying physically. He's there, obviously. He's standing in front. He's taking all this damage. But does he mentally look like he's still in the fight?
Right. And it does. Oh, and by the way, Justin, I think Justin, I think you're cutting in and out a little bit. Is there a place are you normally in this spot? I don't know if it's your Wi-Fi.
I'm sitting in the same spot that I always. Let me restart my headset.
Okay. No, it's just your Wi-Fi is kind of going in and out. Just saying, but I think mostly people are hearing what you're saying. But yeah, I'd love to do that. I do think he did. There was a lot of weird things in this fight. I mean, namely that Chael Sonnen was in his corner. Very bizarre. I don't know if
Hulk Hogan.
Well, Hulk Hogan walked him. Was he in the corner?
I don't know, but I saw him walk him out, so I would assume you're not going to send him to the stands.
Oh, that's crazy if he was in the corner. I thought
you get three guys. You get three guys. Okay. So he had Hulk Hogan, Sonnen, who was coaching him during the class, and then he probably had his regular coach. I can't see Hulk Hogan walking into the ring and saying, "Okay, you go sit in the stands now." You know what I mean?
For sure. Okay, we'll have to go and check that later because that would be crazy if that's the case. But yeah, I don't know. The whole thing was bizarre. It seems like he switched training camps again, and you were saying it's probably because like people just don't want to work with him. So he's in a really weird spot. I don't know. I do want to see. I wonder if he's checked out, and I wonder if perhaps that was just for a paycheck, and maybe he's not fully motivated, fully there anymore because maybe his title aspirations are over. But that being said, he took a loss. Somebody said in the comments, hey, now maybe we can line up the fight with Dustin Poirier. I would rather not see that. The fight that I believe they have to make, the one fight left. I don't want to see him against Wonderboy. I don't want to see him against any of these other guys. There's one fight that makes the most sense. And they could even headline. I mean, they could potentially headline, honestly, a pay-per-view event if it's the right pay-per-view event. But if not, definitely a fight night or at least a co-main on a big pay-per-view. It's got to be Colby versus Ian Gary. Do you agree?
Yeah, I agree. Both guys coming off losses right now. Both guys still think that, or I shouldn't say both guys think. Ian Gary, obviously, future champ down the road, coming off a loss to Shavkat by decision. I think Ian Gary and Colby Covington is the fight to make. And I think Colby's put himself in a spot to where if the UFC is going to be a you better or else situation. You better take the fight we give you or we're just going to cut you. And maybe Colby retires. And maybe that's why he didn't retire after the fight, because he wants to see who they're going to offer him. And if they offer him somebody that he doesn't want to fight like Ian Gary, he might just retire on the spot.
That was my take, is that, hey, this is an homage to my mentor. I'm going to have him corner me just one last time. This will be so symbolic. This will be awesome. And then I'm going to go out and do my thing. So that's why I was anticipating retirement. But at the same time, I could see him also just not wanting to retire in the cage because people were probably going to boo him and clown him. So he's like, nah, screw this. I'm out. But I guess we'll see what happens.
Post-fight interview, if I'm not mistaken, right? He didn't even do a post-fight interview.
No, he bounced immediately. He bounced immediately after the decision, or after the announcement of who won. Okay, we got to give Buckley his due. I know Colby gets a lot of attention, a lot of spotlight, even from us. It's just natural, can't help it. But we got to give Buckley his due. Buckley was incredible, amazing. Everybody's been giving him props. I also am really starting to appreciate what he says on the mic, how hard he works, his discipline that he's showing over and over. He's not afraid of anybody. He's 6-0 now, 6 fights in a row in this new weight class. So who do we have next? A lot of people are saying, as well as MGAL Productions, people are saying Buckley versus Leon makes sense. I think that's going to be in March, I believe, at the London card. And that should give Buckley, I mean, Buckley's been turning around so quickly, it should be enough time. But what do you think about that matchup, or is there something else you're more intrigued by?
I think it's an okay matchup. I think it's fine. But the matchup that I'm really excited about, or would be excited about, is Buckley versus Usman. And in this post-fight interview, he mentioned 3 guys. And regardless of how the fans felt about it, I do feel that they cheered for Usman the most. But I would love to see Usman get in there and see if he still has it. Buckley's a rising star. He is, like you said, 6-0 division. Usman, obviously isn't the same guy he used to be. But putting him up against someone like Buckley can show the world, does this guy still have it? Because if Usman can't beat Buckley, obviously he doesn't have it anymore. I think Leon should get a higher ranked guy. Because the only guy he's lost to is Bilal. Who else has he lost to?
Right.
So he's lost to the champ, and now they're going to match him up against a guy that's ranked 9th. Before he fought Colby, he was ranked 9th. So now he's probably in the top 5. Maybe they're going to bring up number 5. I just think, hey, knock it off. I think Leon. Hey, sorry, the dogs are fighting. I got fucking 7 dogs in my house right now. Literally 7 dogs. But yeah, I think Leon two step up from to compete right now. I think Usman needs to be Buckley needs to be tested against Usman to see if Usman still has it.
Yeah, and I think that could be dope. I did hear my new favorite MMA show, Pound for Pound, where Kamaru Usman is just absolutely incredible every time. He's so good on that show. He did say today that he would be happy to fight Buckley, but right now he's still recovering from injuries and he's still healing up. But he said, when I'm healthy, I'll fight anybody. I don't care. And you got to love that about Usman. He said, if it's JDM, cool. If it's Shavkat, cool. If it's Ian Gary, he's like, I do not care. He's like, I ran through the division, then I ran through it again. He's like, you think I'm running from anybody? No, I'll fight whoever. I just need to heal up. So we'll see how that goes. And let's move it on. Topic number 2. We have a hard stop at 2 p.m., so we got to keep it moving. I was so excited because we got a lot of really fun topics to talk about today, but kind of a short window, unfortunately. But it is what it is. Justin, Manel Kape comes out against Bruno Silva, right? Am I saying that right? Yeah. Yep. Holy smokes. And Bruno Silva actually did great, except for like 3 groin strikes, 3 kicks to the groin where he eventually lost the point for. But holy smokes, dude, Manel Kape looked amazing, showboating, just so slick on the feet. I mean, dude, Manel Kape is the type of guy, you talk about the flyweight division not having a lot of attention, maybe not having as many knockouts, people just not being as interested in those fighters for whatever reason. Manel Kape is the type of guy that he's even more interesting to me than Kai Asakura because he's got that slick striking, beautiful striking. But on top of it, he showboats. He talks crazy smack. English is like his 4th language too, and he's still deadly on the mic. First of all, what did you think of Manel Kape's performance?
Manel Kape is exactly what the flyweight division needs. This guy can talk. This guy can walk. This can fight. Most importantly, he can fight. And that trash talk, it's going to draw his pre-fight antics. He's gotten a lot of fights at pressers. This is what the 125-pound division needs. And I really think that Manel Kape versus Kai Asakura should be next.
The fight that people are saying it's going to be is Manel Kape versus what's the dude from New Zealand? Kai Kara-France. I think it's going to be Kai Kara-France is what people are saying. I don't know. I could see Kai Asakura being a great matchup too. I didn't even think about that. That'd be dope. And then but that'd be incredible. He was calling for the title fight. It sounds like he's not going to get that. But you throw him against Kai Kara-France, they fight, and then the winner is probably going to get a title shot. But somebody just put something in here. There's one dark horse that's not really in the UFC anymore. I really hope they bring back Makayev. Makayev just had his first fight being back in Brave FC, and he won, I think, early in the first. He won in the first round, something like that. That's the one guy. He's only, I think he's like 25.
Hey,
and I think he could potentially beat for sure Pantoja, and he already did beat Manel Kape. That would be interesting if the UFC at some point mends the fence and is able to bring him back. But anyways, Manel Kape, holy smokes, that whole performance was incredible. And I just wanted to highlight that. And I watched it again. I didn't watch it live. I watched it after the fact, but it was amazing. Okay, we got to move on because there's huge news that has come out. Dana White in the presser on Saturday night. I know you were listening to the presser after our fight. I don't know if you heard this quote, but he said, Aspinall versus Jones, when pressed, what percentage? He said 100% is happening. I've also heard other people say that the negotiations have concluded supposedly with John Jones, and he's going to get apparently what he wanted. So I'm guessing somewhere in the neighborhood of at least 20, but I think somewhere even closer to 30 or 40 million is what people have been speculating. This is pure speculation. He is going to get a massive payday. So I wanted to start by saying this. Number one, this fight is going to be one of the biggest, if not the biggest fight of all time. And why is that? Because number two, John Jones, I believe, masterminded and played everything and played everybody. All of the stuff. I think maybe at the beginning he didn't want to fight Aspinall. I don't think it was a 5D chess to that level where he's planning everything from the get-go. But I think there was a point. And I think John truly believes that he can beat Aspinall. So I'm going to tell you my theory, and I want to hear your thoughts. I think he knew from the get-go, he was never afraid of me. Oh, I mean, obviously he wasn't afraid. That was stupid. But I think from the beginning, he believed sincerely from watching Tom Aspinall, I can put together a game plan and I can beat this guy. Then you go back to the presser leading up to the Stipe fight, And what did he say? He said something that was so weird, Justin, right? And even you said, hey, he shouldn't even be thinking about Aspinall. He shouldn't be thinking about anybody. He should be focused on Stipe. And I remember him saying, and this really bothered people. People were like, oh my God, he's definitely ducking. And I remember thinking, why would he say this at the time? He said, oh, I know everybody wants me to fight this guy that's 7 years younger than me, that's so big and so strong, basically kind of like alluding to the fact that he felt that Tom Aspinall had an advantage over him, which I thought was really bizarre at the time. I'm like, why would you even bring that up? You know, because then it makes it, and I never thought he was ducking, but it makes it seem like it. And then now I'm thinking back on it as this fight is actually coming together, which I said for a while, I didn't think it was going to happen. I didn't think the UFC wanted it to happen. And now it's happening. And now he's getting all this money. And he was like, he went out of his way to avoid that interview. He was seeming so touchy about it. Was this entire ordeal, Justin, the most brilliant game plan of all time for Jon Jones to negotiate the highest ever payout for one single fight in the history of the UFC?
Oh, yeah, I'm going to stick by what I said. I think, Jon Jones being.
Now I can hear you. Sorry.
Got me?
Go ahead.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on with my internet, dude. I'm sitting in the same spot, but like I've said since day one, Jon Jones is the best in the world for a reason. He can focus on the task at hand, and I think when he's getting ready to fight Stipe and people throwing all this speculation about Tom Aspinall, I don't think he wanted to talk about it. I don't think that it was a thought to where he thought he was going to lose. But again, he had Stipe in front of him, and when you got someone like Stipe in front of you, regardless if he's in his 40s, regardless if he's lost his last couple of fights, regardless if he hasn't fought in a while, it's still another man standing in front of him that he has to get by before Tom Aspinall can even be talked about. So I don't think it was a game plan like oh, I'm going to make so much money if this way. I think he just was to stay focused for Stipe, and once the Stipe task was completed, now he's welcoming in the Tom Aspinall thing, and I've said that since day one, and I'm going to stick by that.
Okay, and maybe you're right. Maybe I want to believe that this was such a masterful plan because I just felt that Jon Jones was getting so much disrespect so unfairly, and it was annoying the heck out of me. You guys saw me make many videos trying to defend Jon Jones, obviously agreeing. I mean, I think maybe one day people will come back and agree unanimously that there's no duck happening because he was just following through with the scheduled fight. There was talks that were implying that he didn't want to fight him, but now it looks like that was all nonsense and just a negotiation tactic. I mean, this whole thing is crazy. This story has gotten massive. And because of everything that Jon Jones did, that's why this fight is going to be 10 times bigger than it would have been had he not said all of those things, which is either just tremendous circumstances or maybe a little of both. Maybe it was a little bit of planning at some point where it's like, okay, now I'm going to just bait the fans and roll with it and build it up. But regardless, that is what has happened. Dana White says 100% sure. Now, you can't be 100% sure, right? There are a lot of things that could happen. But, dude, this fight might go down in 2025. And that means potentially the biggest event, maybe, I think, yes, actually, the biggest event in the history of the UFC. And the UFC just keeps getting better and better and better. All right, last question on this before we move on to the next topic. If you had to take a fighter right now, you know who I'm going with. If you had to pick one winner between these two at this current moment, who do you got and why?
Man, I'll be honest, and people aren't going to like this take, is I didn't think Jon Jones looks that good against Stipe. I mean, he looked fine. He looked like an average heavyweight. He looked heavy. I'm not saying he didn't have glimpses of his former self. I'm not saying he didn't have glimpses of his former self. I think putting that weight on. I mean, he went to what was the fourth round with Stipe?
Third round, I believe. Wasn't it a third round finish?
Round?
Hold on, let me double check.
Okay, well, I mean, it was either third or fourth round. Like, regardless, third or fourth round. Like, Stipe didn't want to be there. Stipe didn't want to fight. He was there for a paycheck. He looked okay. Tom Aspinall is not going to be Stipe. Tom Aspinall is going to be, and he sees it as an opportunity. Stipe, like I said, Stipe looked to me deflated the whole fight. He looked like he was just trying to get through the fight. He wasn't trying to win. He was trying not to lose. You could see when he was on bottom, he wasn't trying to get up. He just was holding Jon, waiting for the next round. I really wasn't that impressed. And I know some people are like, oh, I thought he looked great. Okay, that's great. Again, I'm wrong. I mean, maybe I'm wrong. But I think Tom Aspinall is going to seize the opportunity to have Tom Aspinall beating Jon Jones.
Okay, fair enough. I mean, that's the opinion of an expert. So, I mean, I totally get it. I did think he looked impressive. I was very impressed with the creativity and the striking, as well as the grappling, the elbows and the ground and pound. I thought the whole fight was tremendous. Maybe Stipe wasn't. I don't know. I don't know what was going on with Stipe, but I thought John Jones did a terrific job. I'm taking John Jones. I believe the cerebral advantage that John Jones has over not just Tom Aspinall, but over everybody, I think is going to come into play. I think he's going to develop a pinpoint perfect game plan, and he's going to execute because he always executes under pressure. That's my thoughts, but we will see what happens, and that's the fun and beauty of the sport. You never know. And we are having the hugest fight. At least we're having the biggest fight ever in the history of the heavyweight division. That's without saying. But I think it could be Conor Khabib, and that's the benchmark. Okay, next we got two quick topics, real quick. Conor McGregor, this is really not much to talk about. Did you see this clip of I know Jake Shields was like clowning him a little bit, your boy Jake Shields, but apparently Conor was doing some training. I saw the video. He posted a video of himself training jiu-jitsu. Did you see it, and do you have a reaction?
I mean, just because he's in the gym rolling around doesn't mean he's preparing for a fight. I think people need to get off that. I go to the gym every single day. I'll hit the bag every now and then, but that doesn't mean I'm getting ready for a fight. Someone like her, I mean, I know I go back and forth on Conor, but I mean, just the way his life is spiraling out of control right now, I don't think Conor McGregor's ever going to step back in the octagon.
Yeah, fair enough. And I guess time will tell, and we shall see. Dana White had said, and now let's push it to end of 2025. It is what it is. I guess we'll see what goes down.
He's not getting any younger, and his life is getting crazier. Like, you know what I mean? Like this guy isn't a 25-year-old kid that's, drinking on the weekends. This guy that's in his 30s. He has no reason. Oh my gosh, my sweetest girl ever. She has no reason. There's no. I just don't understand why he's going to lose, and then it's just going to tarnish everything else that he's done. Like, I don't see. I think with him with saying he's training this, he's just trying to.
All right, sorry, Justin. You're really cutting in and out. I don't know. I guess we'll go to our final topic. We have to wrap in a few minutes, anyways. But I guess the takeaway is, basically what you're saying is he's in a rough spot. Things are falling apart. I do think it's important for him, though, now more than ever, I believe, for him to try and make it back to the octagon, try and get some sort of a victory, because not only do I think it could help his fighting career, or at least get a paycheck, but I think it could turn around a lot of the public sentiment that's gone the other way, come back, have a great fight, and maybe recover in some way, because he's lost a lot of ground. And I think he's already in some financial trouble. We've talked about this offline, despite the fact that people think, oh, he's made so much money, dude. The way he spends money, the way he lives his life, anybody who kind of understands these things knows, like, that's not how you can build wealth and build equity in anything when you party and live like that, especially with his purchases of expensive items that require tons of maintenance. It's just, it's a bad recipe. And then now you add on to all of these funds coming to a halt when he's probably got very high expenses, is going to be bad. So I think it's going to be very important for him to get back in the octagon and hopefully get a favorable matchup. Okay, last thing we are going to go to is Ilia Topuria wanting to go into the lightweight division. We'll talk about this more on Friday, but I heard an interview of Khabib today saying that Islam will not fight Ilia straight away for a title fight. But if Ilia comes in, fights Charles Oliveira, and wins, then he will take him on gladly. And Ilia himself, which I think is dope, even though he is the reigning champion at 145, he said, hey, I'm down to fight Charles Oliveira. I'd welcome that fight. Let me show what I've got. Does this excite you, Justin, to see Ilia move up? What are your thoughts?
Absolutely. It excites me. And, we talked for the weekend in Montana. He's beaten arguably the two of the greatest back-to-back. Wait. Did I say beat? I meant knock the fuck out of the two greatest featherweights, arguably, of all time. I wasn't sold on Ilia Topuria. I don't like his mic talk. I think it's just, when in Spain, it's like, they just have this weird, dry, I don't know, personality. And, it didn't really draw me to Ilia too much. I mean, he's a gangster. He's a thug. He's fucking tough as nails. Again, knocked out two of arguably greatest featherweights of all time, back to back. But to see him to step up to lightweight, him to go up and test his toughness, test how good this guy is, especially against Charles Oliveira. And more importantly, Charles can grapple. Topuria has never fought a grappler like Charles Oliveira, and I am very, very intrigued, and I'm very excited about this matchup.
All right, guys, that's it. Thank you, Justin. We got to bounce. We got a hard stop at 2. Thank you guys so much for joining. Please click that like button if you like the stream. Make sure to subscribe if you have not yet done so. Thank you guys so much. We'll see you on Friday, but tons of content to come in between. And we'll see you in the next episode. Take it easy.